So, this is Linda. Hi. Welcome if you're new. Welcome back if you're not. I was just pondering a little bit about what does hunkering down mean to you? And has the whole world not been asked to hunker down since like March? And everybody just wants to get out, and it's something. If you're thinking about going back to the way things were, going back to quote unquote normal, it's never going back. We're changing, we're evolving, we're breaking down old systems, we're flipping the planet. So no, we're never going back to the way things were. And who would want to? Broken down systems, corruption, conditioning, debt, slave labor, all of it across the planet. Who would want to go back? That's not what we came here to do. Came here to live through this experience too, but there's a good number of people that came here to actively help flip the planet. It depends on what your mission is. But when you were asked to hunker down, when you were put in lockdown last spring, what have you learned about yourself? Have you learned anything about yourself? Because, we all talk about how wonderful it'll be when everything is equality and justice for all and peace on earth and all, and you get to live your life. Well, okay. So what have you learned about yourself then? What is the most important thing that you've learned about life here on planet Earth? Most important thing you've learned just since March, since the lockdown. And, if you're really, really feeling good about your improvement for yourself, try writing it down. 3, 4, 5 things. Try writing down some questions, tap into your spiritual, your heart, mind system. Tap into that creative side to yourself and ask a couple questions. You'll know what the questions are. But one of them could be, how have you improved since March? Since April 1st. Was the joke on you? April 1st, April Fool's Day? Were you the fool? Are you the fool? I mean, it is a fool's journey if you want to look at the tarot stories and the whole adventure of the fool. And everything is in a cycle. Everything is in transition. So have you learned lessons about yourself and your personal journey and how that relates to, you connected to source, connected to the one? What have you learned? So if we have to be forced to hunker down again, or if it seems wise to stay inside for a little bit, won't be long. It better not be long. Because the agreements that are made and the way the shift needs to occur on this long, delayed, drawn-out process is that the round 2 here won't be as painful as a lot would foretell or predict. We don't have to pick that timeline. We don't need to drag this out and perpetuate self-suffering. There is 51% or more of the people on this planet. That's all we need. 51%, guys. And we have 51% that are in favor of easing this transition as quickly as possible to balance both sides. And both sides, everybody needs to know enough truth across the board so that it's not one side right or the other side wrong. Neither side is right or wrong. Both sides, if you call it that, both perceived sides need to know that some of the things that they believed in were true and some of the things was direct propaganda, lies, misinformation, disinformation, you know what I'm saying? Every single person needs to have an aha surprise truth moment, even if you think you know everything, because when you think you know stuff, that's when you get knocked off. And we can't have half of the planet right and half of the planet wrong. It just doesn't work that way. It can't play out that way. Just like we need to have truth. That truth is going to show people exactly where they were maybe steered a little off course, or maybe they fell for something and believed something again, and maybe it was disinformation. Maybe it was propaganda or directly misleading, or whatever. Just call it lies. It is what it is. I know lies stings more. If you believe a lie, you feel like you're a sucker. You kind of like feel like, oh, they got me again. Well, guess what? They got all of us many times, and on stupid shit too. It's like crazy. So what I'm saying is, we need to have enough truth, not just this little tip of the iceberg crap. We need, as humanity, enough truth that, maybe like, okay. So maybe a majority of the people could go without knowing that they've had human meat mixed in with their fast food burgers. Okay. Maybe we don't need to like reveal that in all its naked glory of like, that's pretty gross. But, what's done is done in the past, but enough truth needs to happen so that the people who are, feeling like there's just a 50-50 split, everyone's just split. And how can there be so many people thinking this? And then they're thinking, how can there be so many people thinking that? If you haven't seen The Social Dilemma yet on Netflix, watch that. Your feed is different than my feed. My feed's different than my daughter and I just had a conversation about this the other day. And literally, it's like, if you look at your life as a social dilemma reality, then what you're getting in your feed is not the same thing that someone else is getting, based on their location, based on their based on everything, based on their whole demographics of who's pushing which button and how they want to control you. That's going to depend on the type of news or feed that you get. And literally there's companies that are churning out news stories for both sides. Like, so, and I don't want to say it's just two. There's many little, belief systems that they want to propagandize. Can that be used as a word? Propagandized, like weaponized. Excuse me. So yeah, there's plenty of companies out there that are putting news stories out for both sides to use that as a weapon against you when it's like a social dilemma kind of situation. If you haven't seen that, you need to see it. Or at least understand that what you're getting in your feed is different than what I'm getting in my feed. Are there 3 little dudes up there like controlling each person? No, like, look, let's not get into that. Let's just understand that we do get fake news, and fact checking and doing all that would take, it'd be a full-time day. You'd be doing nothing but, on your computer doing research. If you haven't gone down those rabbit holes, you know what it's like when you do. Sometimes you don't even eat or you don't sleep. You just go on a tear. Like if you've ever gotten that, really that thirst for knowledge and truth to the point where you just can't stop and you keep going, and then you have to stop. You have to take a break from it. And, everything in moderation. So then you might dabble a little down here, a little down this hole, a little down that hole to find out your truths. But really, if you're at an understanding in your human evolution, in your own consciousness, in your own self-awareness, self-awakening, in your own wisdom state and connection with divine source, if you've reached a certain level of inner standing, what that connection means energetically to supporting and sustaining you as a being and point of light, whatever other labels you want to attach to that, that's your choice. That's fine. I'm not going with any other labels except that your inner choice and connection has to do with, the more open that faucet is, the less filters that you will have to divine truth. Okay. So the less filters that you have, we put our filters up when we have an emotional trigger. So an emotional reaction will trigger us to put a filter on to go back to a belief system. It's like we're putting a roof on our own self when something triggers us emotionally. So the key is to get past the point of where you have emotional triggers. And when you do, to stop and say, okay, I'm being triggered now, but without saying it out loud, just saying, okay, like, what inside of me needs to be looked at? Because you're not going to get triggered about something unless you need to look at something within yourself. I'm not going to say that ever again. Just kidding. I probably will. I've said it a million gazillion times. So maybe this time somebody will hear it that didn't hear it before, or maybe someone else will get a new understanding, or hopefully maybe some people that are hearing this again will then start to teach when they're speaking with people or making their own videos or in conversations with people. And everybody's saying, well, I don't understand why this one, that one's triggered, and just being able to say, well, when you get triggered, a lot of times that's our own spiritual self's way of saying, hey, there might be something inside of you need to take a look at. So instead of looking on the outside and judging other people, it's time to take a look back on the inside. Oh, that hurt. Why did it hurt? Why did that hurt me? Why am I offended? Why do I feel like I'm a victim? Or why am I being oppressed? Why is this happening to me in my community? Why? When we're asking why, and we can start to shift the question to what is really happening? What am I feeling? And then we go back to why. After we identify the what, we go back to the why. But we don't look on the outside. Why? Because that's blame. We're blaming if we're finger pointing on the outside. There's 3 fingers coming back at us. Pointing this way, got 3 coming back at you. So why this time not on the outside? Why inside of me am I feeling this what? What is it? Is it an insecurity? Is it an unresolved issue? Is it something we perceive as being negative and we don't want to look at it? There's all kinds of things why, but if you're honest and truly honest with yourself, you will see what part of you was unresolved, maybe from childhood or from teenage years, or when you first started to develop a way to defend yourself by deflecting something that belongs inside of you. And when we get these deep scars and these deep wounds, these things, force us in a way to learn our own self-defensive mechanisms to put in place. And those mechanisms come in the form of filters. And those filters are in the form of stopping something from hurting us again. It's like a shield. You're putting up false filters, though, because they're not really, it's not your armor. It's not your true divine light armor. It's like heavy shields. It's density. It traps energy. So it forces you to become more dense-like by putting these filters up. So to evolve that frequency, to speed up that frequency within yourself, to change vibrations with a thought, to be able to be actively in control of your own energetic field within your own division of where you're located, to be able to have that clear running faucet that doesn't put up any emotional, filters. That's it. Instead of having a drip, you might have a drip, you might have a steady stream that comes in, but until you can have a full open faucet of knowing that is who you are and why you're here, until we, humanity as a whole gets there. And part of the getting there is getting the truth. So in getting the truth, we need to have that full faucet on every being. And how's that going to happen? How's that going to happen unless everybody across the board, across the planet, not just our country, this is so much bigger than just the US elections. Okay, this is so much bigger. This is humanity as a species and a spiritual warfare going on. So what do you got? You got humanity who's ready to make an evolutionary leap, and yet you got beings that are controlling humanity that don't want humanity to make that leap. So you basically got good versus, bad, if you want to label it that way, or dark versus light, or, good versus evil. Like, go ahead, call it that. It's a binary duality system. So yeah, we came here to experience all of this, every single bit of it, and to be active participants in helping to shift. We want that 100th monkey effect, that 51% effect, that's what's happening. So, and it has happened. So we do have our 51%. It's just a matter of the truth getting revealed now so that everybody can realize, every single being that's here in a body can realize, wake up inside and realize what the truth is, and that not everything that they believed is right, and or right as far as truth, and not everything that they disbelieved was false or whatever. So like, every single person is going to have a realignment, a readjust, a reset, a rediscovery, a remembrance of not just who they are, but what the truth is. Because only then can we have balance. When we have balance across the collective with every single person, nobody's blameless and everybody is responsible. That's the key though, is everybody being responsible. And that doesn't happen until the veils come completely down, until that curtain, reveals that, Oz is just a man, until Toto grabs that curtain and pulls it, until that matrix, until the lights go on and you get to see all the workings on the stage, all the props that were actually there, or the lights go out and you see the green screen. So until that truth is revealed, and that's what we're waiting for, because until that happens, we're not going to get that balance, remembrance, recalibration. The remembrance, though, we're not going to get that until we get the truth. So hang on for it, folks, because it's coming. It is coming. That's what we've been waiting for. We'll see it as the real dominoes start falling. This has all been like child's play so far, but all the pawns are wiped off the board now, and we got some serious movement going on with bishops and rooks and, queens and kings and stuff like that. So it's the end game. It's the end of the show. It's the final call, all that. We've heard this forever, right? But it's only like not true until it is true. And we're all going to be getting truth. So hang in there for it, guys. Hang in.